Hello everybody, Graham here. Welcome back to the channel, episode 26. So, before we kick off, I'm going to turn around and say I had a PSA test and it is 0.03, which I'm reliably informed that is pretty normal. So that's good, a thumbs up. I guess this episode, we've talked about the quarterly injections, we're talking about the Lupron, we've talked about how you feel, the emotions that you have to put into a perspective and get yourself into a state of mind where you can feel like you're, contributing on a day-to-day basis. So one of the things I did, and I started to do, and I've always enjoyed, I followed TV episodes of, you'll probably laugh, but where they move to another country, or they move to France, or they move to Spain, or they move to other parts of the world. There's one for Australia, and there's one for moving to the country. I follow these things because, throughout my life, I've, lived in other countries, I've worked in other countries, and I've always had that fascination with travel. And the reason I'm telling you this is because now I've learned to live with Lupron, and I've learned to, know the highs and the lows. I've started to take interest in things a lot more. I've started to be a little bit more sociable. I've been, a lot more tuned in to other people's emotions and what they go through. But it's also made me feel like I've got enough energy to make big changes in my life. Now, those big changes are, do we need to move from where we are? Do we need to rebuild a whole new life and, say goodbye to the cancer, or it will be in a year's time, and we can close that chapter in my life? Now, a lot of people just say, well, just, deal with it. You're dealing with it now. You don't need to move country. You don't need to reinvent yourself. And I know that, my head says, what are you doing? You're 59. Can you really take on, a change in life or a move to another country and rebuild? But my heart says, wouldn't that be great if we bought a nice, country, farmhouse with some gîtes, and, we go and live in France, and the whole romance of it is there because they're very clever with these TV channels. They make it, to a point where everyone lives the idyllic life, and we're the ones suffering back in UK with the weather and the expense, the cost of living, and the high taxes, all these things. And I guess in some parts of it, yes, we are, but they don't live, the dream all the time. I was watching one not so long ago where, they bought this property, they had a couple of gîtes, and they had to go through the full renovation. And I was looking at their ages, and I was looking at what they were having to plough in, as in monies and resources, and the contingency was already gone. They'd spent that. And I thought, do I really want myself in a position where I'm having to rely on income coming in, or forecasted income coming in, and not having any contingency to fall back on anymore? Because a lot of these couples who do it, and they don't have the kids attached. The kids have grown up and moved on, and they've just gone through that, I guess, midlife crisis. And every year, and I'll tell you this now, every year I watch these programs, the new series of, living in the country, or, moving abroad to Australia, or, I've worked in Australia. I worked there for 2.5 years, and Brisbane was a fantastic country I worked in. But it is very expensive to live to a standard of life that makes it all worth it. You move to a country, you don't want to survive. You don't want to live just like, the rest. You want to fully experience that country and have a good work-life balance, but also mean something, as in your surroundings or your living accommodation, or something to look back and go, wow. And I had that in Australia. It was great, fantastic. And there's some wonderful people, and I still know and talk to over there. But you can't beat, in my personal opinion, is there's something about living through the 4 seasons of UK. There's times in the year where you look forward to the garden exploding, and in spring, and then autumn comes, and then Christmas is around the corner. All these things is wrapped up in our life here, and I just don't think you get it anywhere else. But to go back to the point where I do dream, and we all dream, and we all have that idyllic life where the grass seems to be a lot greener on the other side of the fence, but it's not always like that, But it doesn't stop us dreaming, and I could see myself living in a nice little farmhouse with a couple of jeets, and walking down to the village and buying that bread, and it's great. But is it something I would consider now, or certainly I'm still having the injections and everything like that, and Morgan is settled in his school, and my wife is settled in her job, and so again my head takes over and says, what are you talking about? And my heart says, well, I'll bring it back to you in a couple of months' time, when you're feeling better again, and you think you could do something like that. Because people do it all the time. They just have enough of this life that they're doing, and they need something substantial to make that change, or something can trigger them to make that change, where the kids have now grown up and they've gone off and they've got their own lives, and they just don't seem to want to stay in that boredom anymore, or that routine, the monotonous routine of every day. And it's more, I guess it's more about people who don't have that big social circle, so they're always seeking to I wouldn't say adventure, they're seeking change for the sake of change. I think sometimes they want to move out of that very mundane and boring life they have, or they think they have, and they want to reinvent themselves and have that excitement of the next 10, 15, 20 years. I'm not talking about just myself, I'm talking about other members of my family who have gone through cycles where they dream just like I do. They dream for something they feel could be a lot better, but always a little bit anxious of whether to make that change. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you how I was feeling at the time, and some of the thoughts that go through my head. And, if you have similar thoughts, tell me about them, Anyway, it's great to talk to you. Thank you again for tuning in. I'll see you next time, and bye for now.